So welcome again at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. And the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust is a project that was started officially back in the year 1977 after the death of David Sheldrick, who was a naturalist and the senior founder warden of the Large Sava National Park. He died in 1977, and this project was started in his memory under the management of the widow, who is now the late Dr. Dame Daphne Sheldrick, who's been running the project since then until 2 years ago when she passed on, leaving the mandate to her daughter Angela Sheldrick, who was running the project together with the mother for about 17 years before the mother passed on. Right now, the project, and so we take care of orphan baby elephants and orphan baby rhinos, and later on reintroducing them back into the world. And that's why all the babies you're going to see here today are orphans, and all have been rescued from different parts of the country, and they have different reasons for being orphans. And so we rescue them so that we can hand raise them here for 3 years. And any time after the age of 3, we will start to reintroduce them back into the world within Sava conservation area, a process that takes them a minimum of about 5 years before they fully get invited and adopted in a herd of wild elephants. And once or get adopted, then we set them free and let them become wild once again. The elephants have started to join us now for our 11 a.m. milk feed. And next to me is an elephant by the name Lugard, who is approximately over 3 years old. Lugard was rescued from Sava conservation area near the Lugard Falls. He was found with a bad injury on the knee, and that's why you might have realized that he's limping. So he's an elephant that will be taken to Kibwezi Forest when he's ready to go back into the world. Next, after Lugard, is an elephant by the name Ziwadi, who is approximately 2 years old. And Ziwadi was rescued from the Masai Mara. She was identified all alone within the park. Nobody knows exactly what happened to the mother. We suspect she might have been abandoned or left behind by the rest of the family members. And we made these suspicions because when she came in, she was not keen on following the rest of the group. She was either going the opposite direction or being left behind. And later on, we discovered that she's epileptic and sometimes goes into seizures and she's left behind. And so we concluded that those might have been the reasons to why she was left behind by the rest of the family members. She's been on medication and has made a great improvement. We expect her back home when it is time ready for her to go back into the world. So those are the two first ones. The rest will be joining us in smaller groups. They're all ready and they know it's the feeding time. They're all ready to get the milk, and that's why you might see them already running from the other direction, being led by Mukoka, who is always the one in front when it is time for milk feed. Mukoka is approximately 2 years old, and Mukoka was rescued northern part of Savo East National Park, a place called Idumba. He was identified by aerial surveillance on patrol, who found the baby all alone within the park and observed him for some time, hoping for the mother to come back and collect the baby, which was a sign that he is an orphan or he was an orphan, and that is the reason to why a decision had to be made for Mukoka to be rescued. He was a month old by then, right now approximately 2 years old. Next to Mukoka, the big one, now approximately 3 years. She was rescued from the Masai Mara. She was identified all alone within the park, very thin and weak, a sign that she had stayed for a long time without her mother's milk, and so was starving. And that is the reason to why I suspected that she might have been left when she was still young, and so we had to rescue her. Right now, she's approximately 3 years old. Right in front of me is an elephant by the name Nkesha, who is over 3 years. And Nkesha was rescued from the Masai Mara. She was found trapped in a snare all around her trunk. you might have realized that she's got an opening on the trunk, which was caused by this snare. When she came in the nursery in the first place, we called in the vets to come and stitch the trunk back to normal, a surgery that was successfully done. But after a few days, before the wound was healed, the elephant managed to take off all the stitches from the trunk. And that's why you might have realized that part of it is still open, but the wound around has completely healed. She's in a position to use the trunk properly. And since the trunk is full of muscles, she manages to squeeze the muscles together, cover the opening, and zips the water in the trunk and blows it into the mouth, which means she will be able to survive out into the world. Far end, another bigger one in the nursery, is an elephant by the name Maisha, who is one of the little mini matriarchs in the nursery, assisting Tagwa to take care of the rest of the orphans. And Maisha is 3.5 years old. Maisha was rescued from Sava Conservation Area. She is a drought victim. Her mother is believed to have died from starvation due to drought, and that's why she was left alone at about 8 months. Right now, 3.5, and any time from now, ready to go back into the world and start the process of being reintroduced. Smallest in size, walking around up and down, is an elephant by the name Naleku. She also happens to be the youngest that we've got in the nursery. She's approximately 10 months old, and Naleku was rescued from the Masai Mara. She was rescued after her mother died from a natural disease, and that's why she was left as an orphan. Right now she's about 10 months and adjusting well in the nursery. So that was the first group. In a few minutes from now, another group will be joining us to come and get the milk. We bring them in smaller groups depending on the number of the keepers that are ready to feed them. And so we've got another line coming in being led by the main matriarch, Tagwa, who is right in front, who happens to be the oldest that we've got in the nursery at approximately 4 years old. And Tagwa was rescued from Mount Kenya forest after she had been separated from her family by human beings when she was about 8 months. Right now she's approximately 4 years, and she's taking the role of the main matriarch or the leader or the mother figure of all the 18 elephants that we've got in the nursery at the moment. And any time from now, she'll be going back into the wild in Savo to start the process of being reintroduced. On my left, we've got Tamioi, second oldest, 3.5 years. And Tamioi was rescued from Samburu. She was found fallen down a well while at the age of about 1 month, which is not normal and not safe, and nobody could tell the whereabouts of the mother and the rest of the family members. But at 1 month down a well meant that she was already an orphan and so could not have survived, and that's why we rescued her. Next to Tamiyo is Ndololo, 3 years old, and Ndololo was rescued from Sava Conservation Area near a place called Ndololo. He was found floating down a waterhole all alone, very thin and very weak, very much dehydrated and emaciated. And the status he was found in could tell us that he had been alone for a very long time and was as well starving. And that's why he needed an urgent rescue. He was about 8 months by then, right now approximately 3 years, and so far doing alright in the nursery. On my right is Maktau at approximately 2.5 years. And Maktau was rescued from Sava Conservation Area. He was only 3 months old when he came in the nursery. He was found in a community all alone, which is not safe and also not common. And being found in a community suspects that he might have been separated from his family by human beings, and so he's a victim of human-wildlife conflict. The small elephant getting water from the water hole is the youngest boy that we've got in the nursery, an elephant by the name Roho, who is approximately 14 months old, and overall second youngest. Roho was rescued from Sava West National Park. The mother is believed to have been killed by poachers, and that's why Rojo was left alone. Right now, Rojo is approximately 14 months and so far adjusting well in the nursery, being the favorite of all the big females that we've got in the nursery, despite the fact that they also take care of Naleku, but give all their priority to Rojo. I do have an elephant by the name Kiombo close to me, who is 2.5 years. And Kiombo was rescued from the Masai Mara. He was identified all alone within the park at a young age of below a year old, and that's why we rescued him. We do have Satao on my left, who is over 3 years, the oldest bull together. And Satao was rescued from Sava Conservation Area near the famous place. The mother is believed to be killed by poachers, and that's why Satao was left alone. Right now, he's approximately over 3 years old. Behind Satao, we've got Kiasa at approximately 2.5, almost 3 years. And Kiasa was rescued from Sava Conservation Area. She is a drought victim. Her mother is believed to have died from starvation due to drought, and that's why she was left alone at 8 months. Right now, approximately almost 3 years old. We do have the latest arrival in the nursery on my right, an elephant by the name Naboishu, approximately 18-month old, having been rescued by the mother. The mother died from a natural disease, and thus Naboishu was left alone. Right now, Naboishu is approximately 18 months, been with us for almost 6 months and adjusting well in the nursery. And lastly, among us the group, we do have an elephant by the name Laro, the small one right in the middle, who is about 2 years old. Was rescued Olara Conservancy, suspected to have been separated from her family by human beings when she was about 7 months, and right now she's about 2 years old. And next to Lara, we've got Musiara, one of the older bulls in the nursery, at over 3 years old, having been rescued from the Masai Mara near Musiara Gate, identified all alone while at the age of about 1 month, and that's why we rescued him. So that makes a total of 18 elephants that we've got in the nursery at the moment, all under our care for the first 3 years before we start to reintroduce back into the wild within Sava Conservation Area. We've got 3 reintroduction centers. We've got the Idumba stockades that are found within the northern part of Savo East. We also have the Voi stockades, and also at Kibwezi Forest we've got Umani Springs. And when they attain the age of 3 or 3.5 or 4 years, we take them to these centers where we've got our keepers that will monitor them until the time they get invited in a herd of elephants who will train them, who will protect them, who will warn them against human beings. And all these orphans you'll see here now at some point will have become as wild as any other elephant out there. Though this process takes a long time, a minimum of about 5 years, and all that depends on the different characters of the different elephants. It also depends on the reasons that cause them to be left orphans, and also depends with their age when they became orphans. For example, if an elephant becomes an orphan at a young age of below 6 months, this orphan will automatically take a longer time to be reintroduced or to convince the wild elephants to accept him or her, compared to an elephant who became an orphan when was over a year old. And if an orphan saw what happened to the mother and it involved human beings, this orphan will take a shorter time to go back into the world, compared to one who did not see exactly what happened to the rest of the family members. So those are the reasons that will determine the duration that they take at our base in Savo before they are totally wild. But the most important thing is, eventually, they'll all find friends among the wild elephants who will take care of them. And when we see that happen, we can say we've achieved our target. Our main target here is to rescue them, since they've been found orphans, unread them, and later on reintroducing them back into the wild. If you're joining us now, welcome. We are at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery, and the elephants have just finished the bottle feeding at 11 a.m. Some of them are playing with the dust, and others are feeding on greens. And all these elephants are here because they are orphans, having been rescued from different parts of the country with different reasons. Some of them, the mothers have been killed by poachers due to the trade in ivory, and some have been separated from their families by human beings, what we call human wildlife conflict. And very few of them, the mothers have died from natural reasons like old age, natural diseases, and starvation back into the world. And all this has happened to the mothers when the babies are still very young, at an age where they would not have survived without the mother's milk, and also without protection against other dangers. And so we rescue them, 100 them here in the nursery for approximately 3 years, and after 3 years start to reintroduce them back into the wild. For the 3 year period, the elephants that will be in the nursery, they need a 24-hour care. That is why all day from 6 in the morning, the elephants spend out in the park. All the bushes around is part of Nairobi National Park. We don't have any fence between us and the park. So the elephants have the right to the park so that they can learn by natural instinct to behave as the keepers to provide protection whenever needed. They come back for bed at 5, where we let them spend a night in the stockades or stables. And we bring them back for bed because the park has got lots of other wild animals, including the lions and the hyenas, which can be dangerous to these baby elephants. That's why they have to come back for bed and be protected. And when they are in the stables, those that are under the age of 2 years have a keeper spending the night in the rooms. This is because elephants are social animals. They have already lost their families, so they are stressed for being left alone. When they came in the nursery, we became part of their family members. And so if we leave them alone, they become stressed and lonely and can easily be stressed to death. That's why a keeper has to spend a night in the rooms, or those that are 2 years and below. Also for the purpose of covering them with blankets to make sure that they're kept warm for the night. And this is because elephants are very much susceptible to pneumonia. It becomes a problem once they get pneumonia already, since you cannot tell the signs in advance. And you cannot tell the signs because an elephant cannot cough, and this is because the lungs are attached to the rib cage. By the time you realize, it is already too late. So that's why we have to make sure that they're kept warm by spending the night in the room and having a keeper to cover them with a blanket. You might wonder what happens out in the world. Elephants will always stay in groups and families, and all the little ones, all the young ones, are surrounded by the rest of the herd. and that will help them to keep warm. Here we only have a bunch of orphans who are all still young, who are not related, and that's why we improvise the blankets and the stockades to make sure that they are kept warm. And lastly, our keeper spends the night in the rooms for the purposes of feeding them on milk on intervals of 3 hours, day and night, and also for those that are under the age of 1 year, they are fed on demand. So those are the reasons why an elephant will need the keeper in the rooms and also spend the day with them out in the park. The little rojo lying down, and you can see very close is Tagua, Tamioi, and Nabulu protecting or taking care of him. That is Rojo on the ground. Surrounded by the three big girls, Tagua, Tamioi, and Nabulu. So if you're joining us now, welcome at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. The elephants have just had their 11 a.m. milk feed, and so they're enjoying the dust. Just remind you that the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust is working together with the Kenya Wildlife Service to ensure that all animals are safe in the parks. The sick ones are being treated, the orphans are being rescued, the snares are being put off out in the park. And all this is working or taking place because the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust has got other projects that we undertake in addition to the baby elephants and rhinos. For example, we've got the mobile veterinary units, we've got the anti-poaching teams, we got the community projects, we got the aerial surveillance, we got a dog unit, and all this is to ensure that all the parks are safe for all wild animals. So some of you might be wondering that we've been talking about feeding these elephants every 3 hours, day and night. What type of milk do we feed them? The milk that we feed on these baby elephants is not an elephant's milk. And this is because it is not very easy to milk a wild elephant and get the real milk. At the same time, we cannot feed them on cow's milk, since cow's milk has got lots of fats, and elephants are poor in fat digestion. So if you feed them on cow's milk, they will diarrhea to death. And that is why we feed them on a human baby formula, whose fats emulsify to make it easier for the babies to digest. And it took the founder of this place, the late Dr. Dame Daphne Sheldrick, about 28 years to discover that this is the right formula for them. Before that, she used the try and error method and lost most of the first orphans. But once she pioneered this formula, most orphans have survived and gone back into the world. And that's why it is believed to be close to the real mother's milk. You might be interested in supporting the project that we are doing here in the nursery. You can support or donate towards buying a bottle of milk for these baby elephants. You can also donate towards all other projects that are being done by Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. You only need to go on our website, find out how to donate. then go to where you want to donate the money to. You will have already helped these elephants or ensured that they have a better life in the nursery before they finally become wild. At the same time, you can adopt an elephant, which is costing $50 a year. You go on a website, find out how to adopt an elephant. You pick an elephant of your choice. You will find elephants that are at the Nairobi Nursery, the elephants that are at the Voi Stockades, Edumba Stockades, Kibwezi Forest, Umani Springs. Pick an elephant of your choice and help support the project by adopting an elephant. You can adopt an elephant for yourself or as a gift to somebody. And if you do it as a gift, remember it's the gift recipient that will receive the updates every month. But if you do it for yourself, it's you that will receive the updates every month. So those are the different ways that you can help support the work of the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust by just going on our website, finding out how to adopt an elephant, how to buy or donate for a bottle of milk, or how to support the other projects that are being done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. Tamiyoyo on the ground, lying down, followed by Ndololo behind, trying to do the same thing, and Satao in front, next to me. In the middle, we've got Kiombo. So if you're joining us now, we are or have been at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. The elephants have just finished the 11 a.m. milk feed, and any time from now, the elephants will head out to the park to continue with the rest of the day until at 5 in the evening when they come back for bed in the stockades. So Nairobi National Park is free for these orphans. They roam around and learn on how to behave as elephants all day out in the company of the keepers. So for those of you who've been with us, thank you very much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed what we brought to you. We understand the situation of what is happening in the whole world, and so that is why we thought it is wise to bring you these live videos here from the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. So thank you very much for joining us. Remember to stay safe, and we shall be bringing you more live views on Wednesday and Saturday.